Okay, hey everybody, welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today, a really cool review for you guys from their brand Vaer. They are founded back in 2016 in Venice, California, out of LA County in the good old US of A. And essentially, their founders started Vaer because they couldn't afford the watches they liked, and they didn't like any of the watches they could afford. So they used their life savings to bring their vision of the perfect everyday watch to life. And they are now, and have been for a while now, proudly offering American assembly and testing options. Of course, they do have some other options as well, but I really do dig the take on taking on American assembly and really farming that out and growing it out here locally instead of farming it out, I should say. Now, in terms of the type of watch, this is a traveler's watch. Some key common characteristics in language. When you're looking for something you can travel with, of course, you're going to find either that GMT or world timer functionality so that you're able to track multiple time zones with relative ease. This is their new for 2025 G5 Mediterranean, and this is in the navy and black colorway. This is a 39 millimeter USA assembled GMT, and it's essentially the second generation update to their 1950s inspired 20 atmospheres automatic watch that stands out in the Vaer lineup as their most premium USA assembled model, the only true / flyer type of GMT. So key updates are going to include a thinner crystal bezel mid case and case back profile, as well as other key updates like refined details overall, as well as just elevated levels of fit and finish. These are going to go for $999 as configured with this premium Jubilee upgrade option, but I will say they've done a lot to really elevate this timepiece, and I'm very impressed. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay guys, so of course, very classic aesthetics here, combining things from Omega as well as Rolex, and really just meshing them in a way, as well as adding their own personal touches for me in a package that is really well proportioned at 39 millimeters in diameter, 13.2 millimeters thick there, and you can see nice thin profile, 46 millimeters lug to lug, of course brushed with these nice high polished beveled accents. Let me give it a quick little wipe here. Some of those, of course, when it's high polished, it means that you can also get some fingerprints on there. So check it out. Very nice, very sharp, very clean. So very cool. Sapphire, it's now box domed with an inner AR coating. And before we get on to that, I did want to kind of show you guys the previous iteration, and this was a really impressive one. I'm still impressed with this one, but what they did is they just refined it. Check out the coin edge bezel difference there, the more scalloped Rolex style versus this nice refined coin edge here that you're getting, as well as just the overall proportions. You can see it just looks a little bit different when you look at the dial. Actually, let me give the dials a quick little wipe here. I should say the crystals, but you can see that box dome sapphire definitely gives it a different look and feel versus this double dome, where it's actually going to flow really well with the overall case shape there. Do you see the sloped how it follows the slope of that bezel insert? But you're going to also notice, look at how much thicker this looks by comparison, right? Thicker bezel profile, thicker mid case. The case back itself sticks out a little bit more there. I mean, you can also look at the refinements and just look at the crown execution, the multiple finishes that are happening here versus not quite as much. It's just a nice little engraving. Still nice, but this is definitely going to be a lot more elevated. So very cool. From that perspective, and you guys can see again, it's really the way that they compartmentalized the mid case, the bezel, and then the case back in a very nice way to really reduce that thickness there, which wasn't bad, and again flowed quite organically. But overall, this just feels more refined and like a more premium product, which is saying a lot considering how much of a premium product jump this felt like for them in terms of how nice it was. So here you have, of course, a bit more of the Batman style of colorway with the black and blue. The box dome sapphires and air coating. You're getting 120 click bidirectional bezel. Ooh, very, very nice. That ceramic insert is very glossy and handsome, and ultimately can be a bit of a smudge magnet. So you just give it a quick wipe again, and guess what? It's back to looking quite good. All right, now in terms of the movement inside, the cool thing is you can actually see it. Check it out. It is your Miyota 9075, which is a great movement. It is a Miyota it's their first Flyer style GMT, right? That Flyer, quote unquote, true GMT. Of course, I'm not arguing that other types of GMTs, like when they say collar style or office style GMTs, aren't true GMTs, but these are, in the truer sense, when it's a Flyer style of GMT, it's usable for a traveler, right? So one of the nice things is when you take the crown out to the first position, you can jump the hour. So that's great for me if I'm gonna fly to Texas or New York and back to California. So you don't have to mess with your time hack. You don't have to mess with anything. You just jump it, and that's fantastic. And then you can use, of course, that GMT hand to keep track of your home time zone. So very nice there. 42-hour power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate, or 28,800 vibrations per hour in terms of that sweep. And then it's actually, regulated to be accurate to -5 to +16, or say +15 seconds per day, which is a nice little window of just 20 seconds of variance. So not too shabby at all. And in terms of that, you also do get a display case back, so you can see the movement, which is nice. Of course, it's not the most insanely fancy done movement or anything like that, but it is a very clean movement, and I like that they went through the trouble of redoing the profile to really make sure that you're getting a nice flat wear, as well as keeping it nice and thin. Now the dial itself, you can see, has this beautiful sunray black dial, almost anthracite in the way that it picks up the light there, and I like that. And also you can notice the refinement in these indices, the applied indices. Look how much taller and more defined they are versus here. And I mean, they looked good before, guys. Like, that doesn't look bad at all. It's actually quite good. But compared now, and look at that, it's just another couple notches up, which I can appreciate. You're getting Super Luminova BGW9, 15 layers of it, 20 atmospheres of water resistance, or 200 meters, and 20 millimeter lug width. So very useful from that perspective. You're getting this premium Jubilee style steel bracelet with that Nodex clasp, which has solid links, screw pin construction, also solid end links that do have quick release spring bars, which is fantastic. You're getting a 4mm taper down to 16mm, and then of course that 18.4mm Nodex proprietary clasp with 4 positions of toolless micro adjustment, which is going to give you just roughly about 10mm of space here. This is a review sample that was kindly lent in from Vaer, so big shout out to them. But with all that said, let's actually get it on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, this wears really perfectly. Check that out. Of course, if I get my wrist a bit too close to the camera, guess what? All of a sudden, you're getting some perspective distortion. It makes the watch seem a lot larger than it actually is. So I like to just keep my wrist nice and low. And look, all of a sudden, the watch seems more proportionate. You're seeing more of the sides of the bracelet there going over my wrist. So I like to just keep my wrist nice and low, and then just tighten up the frame so you guys can get still a detailed look, but just add a bit of a truer aspect ratio as to how this may lay on your own wrist. And you guys can see here, guys, I'm loving it. So much more refined. Just the lines flow really, really well without making it feel too bubbly or slab. thickness there, where things almost flow together too well. I like that there's just breaks in some of these lines, which means that you're going to really accentuate the thinness that you're going to get. I mean, look at that mid case, guys. Gorgeous. That very nice toothy coin edge bezel, so very nice tactile engagement there. 120 click, bidirectional, really, really nice. And although my wrist is on the larger side of average at just at 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters about, I will say it's quite a round and tall wrist, so it's not like it's super wide and flat and accommodating. So I do have to be quite conscious of things like your ultimate lug to lug, as well as, just overall proportions in terms of the dimensionality. I think this wears really, really well, drapes really well. I mean, this is a looker here, guys. I would say visually, my only thing that I might change on it would be the color of that seconds hand. I do wish they would have just went with a blue, or if they were going to have a contrasting color, they found one that just felt a little bit more cohesive. I don't know what color that would be. In my mind, I'm thinking I'd try all these other colors and, maybe yellow, maybe a bright orange or something like that. This is kind of a reddish orange hue, maybe a deeper red. I personally think maybe a lighter blue, maybe like a sky blue type of thing would have played nicely if you really wanted it to pop, or if you wanted to blend a little bit more. I think a dark navy blue would have been fantastic as well. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. So with that said, let's actually get this off the wrist, set up for some loom shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Yes, there are layers and layers of thickly applied loom. Check this out, guys. I mean, yes, it's based on a dive watch platform, but does your GMT really need to have loom like this? Probably not. But man, when it does, it's a really, really nice bonus. And, it's a bit of a cue to let you know in terms of some of the underappreciated, undernoticed refinements that that they took that extra care. If they cared this much to get the loom right, when it comes to some of those other fine details in terms of maybe the contouring of that beautifully slightly domed dial, or the play and the shape on that very nice box dome sapphire, or the toothy grip for tactile engagement that you're going to get from that coin edge bezel. My goodness, look at just the luminosity, and you're still going to get so much contrast even in this mixed lighting situation. Check that out. Ooh, that anthracite. Ooh, look at the dial. There we go. Anthracite. I mean, I would, if you called this a dark gray dial and not a black dial, I think people would, they wouldn't argue with it. So I know this is advertised as a black dial, and in a lot of lighting conditions, it's going to read directly as that. But I will say this thing captures the light in a really nice way. I think they made the right decision with this grayish tone. And speaking of Batman, of course, that's very classic, is that blue and gray costume. So I think that is very fitting here. And maybe if they went with a yellow GMT hand, it could really get into that classic gray, blue, black Batman, with the emblem with the yellow background. So I don't know. That's just an idea. I'm obviously not a designer, but that could be fun to really embrace the Batman aspect. And I'm sure they can't, they don't have licensing from DC to market it as a Batman. But you know what? Neither does Rolex. And they have the Batman, the Batgirl, the Starbucks, the Hulk. They have all of the nicknames, right? So there's that. But check that out. I mean, it's nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. And I think this looks fantastic. Look at how uniform the light glides over the brushing on those links, the dial, the beautiful contouring there. It just feels more visually interesting, more awake, more alive, and I really, really dig that. Again, the previous profile didn't bother me at all. I mean, it was a little thick. But apart from that, I think visually it looks great. This just looks so much better though. Like, and it's weird because it's just small tweaks and of course improvements in quality that if you're looking for them, you'll find them. But if you're not looking for them, you know, it's tough to say. Believe me, I have videos where people literally argue with me when I talk about how a watch, it doesn't feel refined enough and could be better and those types of things. Like, they get mad at me because I'm saying the watch could be better. You know, they're just perfectly happy with a watch the way that it is. In this case, guys, this is so well refined and realized. I gotta say, there's not, I mean, the things that I might change so far have just been aesthetics, right? Like, hey, maybe the tone of red on the GMT hand, you know, could have been better. You know, it's not that it's bad, but it could have probably been better, and that's about it. I mean, maybe they make it gold. That would also play with that instead of yellow. So anyways, this thing is very, very cool. So with that said, we'll get these lights on here and get into some closing thoughts. Guys, on the wrist, classic 40-ish millimeter diver proportions, which absolutely work. And then in terms of model variants, check the site links for options and availability. But off the top of my head, I know that they do have a kind of a steel bezel Explorer 2 style variation, as well as a green kind of hulked out green on green style, which looks pretty nice. In terms of comparable models, guys, while some brands are just racing to the bottom to offer the cheapest mechanical GMTs, I like that Vaer took the high road. They went with a more expensive Flyer style GMT format and committed to elevating the rest of the watch to match the potential of the more premium GMT movement, right? They could have easily said, hey, we'll just throw a Seiko NH movement in there and, you know, keep prices down, keep, you know, just have the quality just kind of be what it is. Or they could have said, hey, we can just throw in this better movement and just leave the build quality where it is, because you know what, this movement's already going to dictate more of an increased price point. But they didn't do that. They didn't settle. They said, hey, we want both. We want to improve the fit and the finish on here. We want to, you know, refine the silhouette. We want to add more value while adding a more expensive movement. And of course, ultimately it's going to cost more as well. But I just like that they went and they bet on quality and they really said, hey, let's cater to the enthusiasts. We have plenty of models that are really going to be more mainstream viable in terms of their price points. And they said, hey, let's let this one be a real nice kind of premium halo model for our brand. So for me, guys, bottom line, Vaer have always nailed their branding and customer experience. So it's really awesome to see them continuing to excel on, you know, the product front, as well as really challenging themselves to be even more competitive within the fierce enthusiast market. So with that said, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.